the show is sponsored by Clark EPOS UK Limited, providing a convenient way for any business to receive card payment at some of the most attractive rates in the business, as well as providing your utilities such as gas and electric. If you want to find out how you can save up to 50% on your card processing charges with no joining or setup fees, no cancellation fees, and also no minimum monthly service charge, then contact Clark EPOS UK today on 01698 478 883 or by email at info@clark-eposuk.com. That's info@clark, CLARKE-EPOSUK.com. Hello and welcome to In My Unprofessional Opinion, and I'm your host, as always, Colin, and today we will be bringing you an interview that I did earlier on the week with Mick Tyler. He is one of the managing directors of the UKFL, who are looking to launch, or who will be launching, a semi-professional American Football League in the UK as of 2023. So cut right to the chase and enjoy the interview. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Colin.
Hi, Mick. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks very much for doing this.
That's okay.
Massive help.
Pleasure.
It's a massive help.
It doesn't take much persuading for me to talk about football.
Oh no, I know the feeling. I'm the same.
Where's your loyalties lie?
My loyalties lie with the 49ers for my sins.
Right, okay.
What about yourself?
We just end it there then.
What about yourself?
I'm a Saints fan.
A Saints fan, right? Okay.
Yeah. I've got to admit, I do have a little bit of. I like the 49ers. I like Montana when he was, that was my era when I first got into it.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to have enjoyed that. You're probably a little bit too young, are you?
Yeah, a little bit too young. Unfortunately, I've managed to watch back, obviously, some vintage stuff.
It's not the same though, is it?
No, it's not the same. I can imagine it would be unbelievable to watch. Yeah. I suppose 49ers now would be experiencing what I suppose what Patriots fans or what Brady fans were experiencing.
Yeah, very
you know
much.
What I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I suppose at the moment that's kind of all I've got to. It's the same as Dolphins fans, like with Marino. You guys as well with Breeze. It's all four of them are up there.
Let me just turn this light off because it's reflecting on that picture. Just bear with us.
Yeah, no worries.
We've had a couple of chances. I was actually at the Saints 49ers game last year.
Right, okay.
The one that you won, which was like 45-47 or something.
Oh yeah, it was an insane score.
It was probably one of the best games I've ever seen, I think, ever, live or on TV.
Yeah. Kind of shorter games like that this season, unfortunately.
Well, yeah.
Especially with the lack of fans as well. Like, even if you were getting a game like that, you probably wouldn't have experienced it through the telly.
It's not the same, is it?
No, definitely not. Just if you want to introduce yourself and tell us a wee bit about the UKFL.
Okay. My name is Mick Tyler. I'm one of the directors of UKFL, which is the UK Football League. The company is called UK American Football Live. We've been doing some live streaming. We've been doing some commercial work prior to this. And it was really lockdown that, shall we say, focused our minds. All three of us, we were all spending 30 hours a week plus on football, as well as doing a job. It was the other woman in our lives. And so myself, I was running the Newcastle Vikings for 5 years until about 18 months ago, when I gave it up to focus on this project. Jonathan Rooney is well known in the British footballing world. He's currently the head coach at Durham University, who were national champions a couple of years ago, first university to start bringing in American scholars, you know, and has raised the game on that level. A lot of universities doing it now. And David, the third guy, he's the guy really who's in the background with us. He's the guy behind the camera. He does all the technical stuff, all the clever stuff. I think he's just about started shaving. You know, he's still in his early 20s. Puts me to shame with, you know, with technology. Puts most people to shame with technology, to be honest. But so that's the three of us. We're all fans primarily. You know, I've been a fan since the late 80s when I first started watching it on Channel 4 with, you know, Boomer Esiason, Joe Montana, the 86 Chicago defense, all those, you know, legendary things. I did have a spell out of the game. I was involved initially with the Leicester Panthers for a number of years. Left in about 93, I think it was. Had a career and a young family to deal with, so spent some time out. And then in 2011, I'd moved up to the northeast. Went down the park one day with my granddaughter and saw these lads throwing a ball around. So went over, started talking to them, and it was Jeff Rutter and the DC presidents. Got involved with them for a couple of seasons, did some commercial stuff. And then we set up the Vikings. So that's my sort of story. The reason I think we've worked on the league now is that, first of all, the UK is currently the only, let's call it, developed European country that has American football. It doesn't have a pro league.
Yeah.
You know, most others do. And when you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, we did have a semi-pro league then. We had imports, you know, most of the NDMA teams had 3 or 4 Americans they could play in. They had as many coaches as they wanted. And the reason they were able to do that is they had commercial partners. You know, the league was sponsored by Budweiser and then it was sponsored by Coca-Cola. The team I was with, the Leicester Panthers, we were sponsored by Everard Brewery. So, you know, we had a good flow of funds coming into the club to be able to, you know, to develop it. And, you know, we had some really good players. I mean, you know, most notably Sean Payton, who played for the Leicester Panthers. I don't know if you know that. You know, he came over 86, 7, I think it was, just after the strike year. He played for the Bears. I can't remember if that was just before or just after. It's around that time anyway. There'll be some anorak somewhere, I'll tell you. But, you know, it sort of mid-90s, it sort of died a little bit with death. Teams weren't allowed to pay players anymore. And, you know, today that is still the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, you're not allowed to pay players in British football. It's purely an amateur game. So that's really what we did. And we've spent, since lockdown, what we did, we took some time off because we all work as well. You know, we all have our own careers and jobs. Still technically a hobby. But we sat down every Friday and we worked on, you know, a different section each week. And over, you know, what seemed a long time, it helped with the boredom, it helped with, you know, the challenge. And we were going to launch initially in September at the start of the NFL season. We weren't ready, nowhere near. We still had too much to do. So we delayed and delayed and delayed. And we just thought we'd do a soft launch while the Super Bowl was on. You know, we wanted to catch the back end of the season, primarily because we want to get the word round to investors, because we need some cash to make this thing happen.
Yep.
And we thought the one time in the year that every single person in the world talks about the Super Bowl, talks about American football, is Super Bowl week, even if you're not a fan, you're aware of it. So we just used that to release the video, which I presume you've seen, put the website up with a few relevant questions and answers on, and just put some links in there that allow people to register an interest. So as a player, as a coach, as a fan, as a member of the media, as an investor, you know, and that all comes into a central pot. And we've had a tremendous response, absolutely tremendous response. You know, we were saying the other day, we think we've created a monster now.
It could end up like that, especially as you said, with the most attention being around this time. Like you're either getting the build up, the actual Super Bowl, or the fallout. It's probably the best time to launch anything to do with American football, especially in the UK.
Right. Well, the thing that frustrates me, when I speak to anybody that will listen to me, that there's millions and millions of people watch the NFL on Sky, and most people, if you talk to them in the street, they don't know there's a British game. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It doesn't get as much attention as what it deserves. I've got a few friends that have played with the Glasgow Tigers, kind of over the last couple of years, and they just, it is a case of.
Can I just get in there? They never beat the Vikings in about 9 or 10 attempts. Still haven't. I won't rub it in though.
That's because they didn't have me playing. That's what it was.
Is that what it was? Yeah, I knew there's a reason. Yeah. No, there was some good. We had some good scraps with them. Good bunch of lads.
Well, that's it. They thoroughly enjoyed playing it. Again, started off with me just being a fan, and then kind of developed into playing. Something I would love to be able to actually to do. But with regards to actually getting the attention on the game, it's a main reason why I've started up like the NFL show and talking about the game. You don't get that same, even though they'll be interested, they'll watch it on Sky, they'll watch the Super Bowl, and they know who they're talking about. That they don't realise it's actually a very prominent thing in the UK, especially minus lockdown, obviously, because the fixtures haven't been able to get played. But it's one of those ones that just doesn't get the attention it deserves, really. Mm-hmm. With regards to the league, what stage are you at? Obviously, you've put up on the website, you get quite a few stadiums kind of lined up to host games. How are you sitting?
The next stage that we're working on is we're working on two things. We're working on a marketing plan.
Yep.
So nowadays most of the marketing is done on digitally through social media and the like. So we've got a meeting next week with a specialist on that, and that will really focus our minds on what we need to do. So we've got a couple of areas we need to market to. We need to market to the fans. We need to market to players and coaches, but we also need to market to investors. Yeah. So we're going to split the categories up because each one's a different audience to go to. And to be honest, at the moment, we don't really need to think about players or coaches right now. We need to focus on investment, and approaching people like that, and sponsors and potential long-term partners. So that was really why we came out Super Bowl week. We did the video initially went out on LinkedIn because the video was made for investors. It says investors video on the title. We have got a couple of shorter versions for social media, but it's basically got the same content on. But I'm told by these social media bots that people won't watch something that's 2 minutes 45 seconds, so they can't hold their attention that long.
It's one of those ones I actually studied before. I studied journalism, studied business as well, and they tell you that they're not going to keep their attention for anything over a minute and a half. I must be one of the only ones that watch longer form videos because they actually grab my attention.
Yeah. So there is a couple, and when we talk about the teams and the stadiums, we've had a lot of questions about where are they going to be, what are they going to be called, what colours are they going to be playing in. Well, we've got a number of colour matches that we've already worked on. So, but at the moment they're generic. So there'll be a white and blue, a white and red and white, black. But which ones will play in which, we probably won't decide yet. But in terms of the locations, what we're doing currently is we're doing demographic studies. So you take Scotland as an example because that's an area the total population of Scotland is 5.4 million people. Well, probably 4 million of those live within Glasgow and Edinburgh corridor. Yeah. So if there's going to be a team in Scotland, it's ideally, if we had to hand pick a stadium, it would be right in the middle of, Glasgow and Edinburgh along the M8 somewhere. Yeah. Now, there might not be a stadium there. But so the criteria will be demographic.
I could think of a few.
Good. Well, if you can, please send them down, because that's our next project. That's what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to pick 12 areas based on demographic numbers. Pick 2 or 3 stadiums to look at in each area, which again, we've got a defined criteria. Must be a minimum of 5,000, must be a maximum of 25,000. Excuse me. Must have facilities for corporate, must have a car park so we can do tailgating, or not a car park, any area for tailgating. You know, we want to try and recreate what they do at Wembley, but on a slightly smaller scale.
Oh, definitely. I think that would be, that's where the kind of, I suppose, tailgating as well, but it just brings that community aspect into it as well.
It does, yeah. And, you know, we've got no predetermined, we're looking for 12 stadia that you know, tick all our boxes and are in the right area. It could be the perfect stadium, but if it's not in the right area with chimney pots, then we're not going to use it. We've found 3 so far that you know, we think are suitable, and we've had conversations with them, and they've been all up for it. You know, they're even asking us, well, you know, can we name the teams, whatever, and it's like, well, whoa, you know, slow down. So that's what we're working on right now.
I answered my next question then with regards to if there was any plans for a Scottish team. So I suppose it is just based on, I guess,
it will be based purely on those numbers. Yeah. I mean, one thing that we've got to try and do. So we're all based in the North East, for instance.
Yeah.
So our natural inclination is to have a team in Newcastle. But if the numbers don't stack up, there won't be a team in Newcastle.
Yeah, I suppose it's as simple as that. It's one of those ones as well, because the North East, you've got quite a big catchment area. Again, as you mentioned, Glasgow and Edinburgh, a relatively big catchment area between just the 2 of those cities. Like, kind of pinpointing somewhere in the middle for a stadium, you're automatically going to attract the people from both, like, right into the middle. So, ideal in an ideal world.
You know, we're going to start with we're going to identify 12 to pick 8, and then the plan is after 2 or 3 years, you know, depending on how successful we are, eventually we'll go to 12.
So you have got that expansion plan in mind?
Yeah. No, we need to. I mean, we talked about going with 6 to start. We even talked about going as small as 4. But, you know, you reach a point where it doesn't become cost effective. There's not enough income generated to do it, because a lot of the costs you've got, whether you've got 4, 6, 8 or 12 teams, you know, marketing, for instance, you know, it's a fixed cost. You know, so we decided on 8. You know, we're semi-flexible if we can have conversation. What we're trying to do at the moment is keep all of the ownership within the league. Okay. So, you know, we'll own them. We are looking at a franchise model as well, where people can buy a franchise, but even in the franchise model, we would still retain some sort of control. Okay. What we don't want is someone coming along with a shitload of money. And sorry, am I allowed to say that?
That's perfectly fine.
with a lot of money, and you know, just buy the title every year. That's not the purpose of it. You know, we're going to try and run a draft. We're going to try and let teams trade. We're going to try and let them franchise a player if they want to keep a particular player for next year. You know, we want to have fantasy football. So, you know, stats is a good example. You know, stats is a really frustrating thing for me. I'm a numbers man. You know, I work in financial services. And that's one of the big attractions for me of American football. There are no stats in Britain. No one keeps them anymore.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you need someone to keep on, or you need multiple people to actually keep on top of it as well.
Well, unless all the teams are doing it, there's no point. Yeah. There's no point 1 or 2 teams doing it. So, you know, who statistically is the best quarterback in Britain last year?
You don't know. You can't answer. I suppose every single one of them will put their argument forward. Yeah. No, that's a very good point. Unless everyone's 100% in, there's no real point in keeping that.
So, you know, one of the things we're going to start looking at is we're going to start talking about stats now, because it's no good waiting until May 2023 when we start to say, well, we want 8 stats teams. Well, we might need them now, and we might train them and, you know, get them used to doing some some local games just because they might be efficient, they might not. I don't know. You know.
So, with regards to 2023, is that kind of you've pretty much set yourselves that goal?
Yeah. We initially targeted 2022, but for obvious reasons, we put it back a year. We didn't want to go. We didn't want to go into a league where there'd been no football for a year.
Yeah,
you know, that would have been ridiculously. So we're hoping there'll be some football this year. Well, there'll definitely be football in 2022, I think.
Yeah.
And then, we're going to launch in 2023.
With regards to obviously the current situation with football in the UK, with like the BAFA and BUCS as well, are you guys going to be working kind of hand in hand with them, or have some form of relationship with the guys?
We've had no conversation with Books yet. Although Jonathan Rooney is the chairman of the SAG group for Books, so he's heavily involved in Books football. But it wasn't quite right. We've had a lot of meetings with BAFA. We have a letter from them, which is on our website, which says that they've seen all our business plans, they've seen all our conversations regarding what we're planning to do. They won't endorse it because they won't endorse it. But they have said that everything that we're doing fits within their 10-year plan.
Right. Okay. So it's one of those ones that I suppose because they've already got their own system in place, so that's not going to help when it comes to getting them to endorse it.
No, we're going ahead with or without.
Yeah.
We prefer to go with because we think there's a lot of help. I'm not coming to the show just like back off because I know Peter very well. We've worked. He's worked incredibly hard since he's been in the role.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good bloke, but everything just takes so long with BAFA, and 2017, I think it was, when they paid for the what they called sports structures report, which, one of the outcomes of that was you've got to have a commercial plan.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen it?
No.
No.
There hasn't been one. That's the problem. And I suppose when you look at the two of them, like you guys at the UKFL and BAFA, their leagues set up, it's going to be different as well because you guys will also have your own structure, as you've described, looking to kind of try and get a draft sorted and get trades sorted.
Yeah.
Pretty much modelling it on what the NFL do, I suppose.
Yeah.
As opposed to the current kind of setup that's available with BAFA at the moment.
Yeah.
And especially if it's going to be semi-pro, I suppose BAFA is amateur, so there shouldn't really be that
There's no conflict.
There's no conflict of interest. Exactly. There is actually just the case of wanting to bring American football to the forefront and be a mainstream sport in the UK, which for the attention it should be. It's not as if you've not got British guys that go over there and play in the league. So it definitely should be.
We've estimated. We think there's about 100 British players who play abroad.
Yeah.
Professionally. Give or take. We think there's about 100, and that's been part of our planning, part of our philosophy. That how can we get them to not go abroad? You can't. There are several reasons players go abroad. We've done a bit of research because Rooney knows a lot of players who play abroad, and he's asked the question why. One, they get paid. Well, we can match that.
Yeah.
Two, they get accommodation and a bit of spending, money and a walk, gym and all that. We can sort that. The one thing we can't match is the adventure of going abroad.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we can't match. Some say, well, I'm going because I want to travel and see Europe, and I want to, go to this particular country or that particular country. We can't change that, but we can change everything else. We can give them the opportunity.
Those guys aren't, I suppose, the ones that you're catering towards, as the guys that are going abroad for the sheer fact that they're getting paid.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is the deal they go for isn't wonderful.
No.
It's somewhere to live. It's a bit of transport money, and it's probably €1,000 a month.
it's a standard job wage, I suppose, when you look at it. Standard job, but you get the benefit of playing football.
Yeah. So that's where we are, and we're making a big thing of we're focused all our plans around two things. One is how the players are treated. Yeah. We think the first rule with any players, they shouldn't have to pay at all.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to pay subs. They shouldn't have to pay registration. They shouldn't have to pay for kit. They turn up and they practice and they play and they put their bodies on the line. Isn't that enough?
Yeah. And that's again, a lot of the clubs, to keep themselves afloat, because there isn't that mainstream kind of sponsorship. They do have to pay registration fees and a monthly fee and everything like that. So that's also a very refreshing way of looking at it. Like trying to,
in our budget, we've put that we're going to pay the back fee.
Okay.
We've already said that no player will pay. Some will get expenses, and some will be paid. The imports will be paid. The non-imports will receive expenses if they meet certain criteria. Not everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
You live up the street, and you've got no cost then, but within reason. And we've already got in place an agreement with a major equipment supplier to supply 5-star equipment. So everyone will get a brand new helmet. Everyone will get brand new pads. Okay. Everyone will get uniforms that match.
Exactly. So it's one of those ones you're not focusing on, okay, we're just going to pay the imports. You're looking at everything, and it's going to be a case of, listen, we have the top, we have 5-star quality equipment for you as well. So it's not just a case of these guys are coming in, they're getting paid, you guys are getting the same equipment. Do you know what I mean? So it's a...
Yeah. So our coaches, for instance, we've put a budget in for a head coach, and I'll tell you what it is. It's no secret. We're going to pay our head coaches 30 grand a year.
Right.
Okay? And the reason we want to pay them 30 grand a year is because we want them to work for 12 months. We want them to see it as a career.
Yeah.
We want them in the 6 months that we're recruiting, training, pre-season, playing. That's what they do. But in the other 6 months, they're in schools, they're at clubs. They're still working, they're still coaching.
Yeah, advocates for the game. Like you're a year-round advocate, even when the season's done.
And on 30 grand a year, they can still come over and get a mortgage and buy a car and do the normal things that you and I do.
Yeah.
With our jobs, they're not over here, struggling because they've only got 3 months that they get paid.
Yeah. It's an annual salary, and again, it's a really good structure of looking at it as well, because it will attract guys to come from overseas and try and, as you say, make a career of it.
I mean, we were asked on a couple of podcasts the other day. Not podcasts, what we call these video pod. Media calls, that kind of stuff. Whatever they're called. We were asked the other day, will all these 8 coaches all be American? Well, not necessarily. They will be the best 8 coaches that we believe are in the UK, whether they be English, American, Chinese, doesn't matter. They'll be whatever's the best. Yeah, and most qualified for the job. In all likelihood, some of them, majority of them, will be American, because the nature of the job and the experience that they need would dictate that they would be. But it's not, we're not ruling people out.
Oh, definitely. They shouldn't be ruled out because they're not American, but then again, they shouldn't be ruled out because they're American coming over. It's a fine balancing act as well that you've got to look at.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Oh. And the second person we've focused on is the fan, because 2 of the 3 of us, me and David, for instance, we're just football fans. We're just football nuts, and we've both paid to watch football in America. We've both paid money to watch football in London, but we can't go and watch top quality game other than at Wembley.
Yeah.
Not practically. You're not. Are you realistically going to go to Germany to watch a couple of games? Probably not, especially when they're not in English.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
we thought, well, you know, let's do that. So we tried to think what gets us excited about the game, and it's the stats, it's the fantasy football, it's the going turning up and, you know, 4 hours before kick-off and doing the tailgating and having a drink and all the usual crap that, you know,
Making a day of it.
Yeah, exactly, making a day of it. Yeah, and going with your family and, you know, eventually making it home. You know, football almost becomes secondary, doesn't it?
Exactly, as I kind of touched on earlier, but kind of the community aspect of it as well. And it sounds like it's something that you guys have obviously very much thought of, and the kind of grand scheme of things, and bringing it.
You've got to get bums on seats. You know, you've got to get bums on seats regularly, not just 1 week. You know, you've got to get them there every week. And the only way to do that is to treat them right. You know, if you look at, you know, I'm a big football fan as well, soccer fan. You know, and I go to a lot of football games. And you go to some stadiums and you still, you know, there's that attitude of like, you know, you're a pain in the arse. You go to other stadiums and you think, you know, wow, that was worthwhile. You know, and I've got to use this in conversation. I borrowed this off a guy called Jeff Ram, who was telling me about an experience he had when he went to Dallas. He went to the new stadium there, and he was talking to the people at the stadium, and they were telling him that they got more vendors, more people selling drinks, food, whatever it is, than any other stadium in the world.
Right.
And he said, why is that? And do you know what the answer was? He said, we don't want to have to make you wait to take your money off you.
It's a very good point.
I thought, I can go with that. Now, I'm not saying, you know, we're gonna do that, but it's just a completely different attitude to the customer. You know, why should we have to wait for 20 minutes to buy a pie?
Yeah, it's the British way. We love to queue for things, whether it be traffic or otherwise. It's a very good view of it. Is you just say, why would you want somebody to have to wait to take their money?
Well,
mate, that pretty much answers everything that I had down. Just to kind of wrap up, if you want to tell everybody that's listening where they can find any information about the UKFL.
The best place to get it is on our website, which is ukfl.net. So on there's the video which sort of tells the story, the 2 minutes 45 seconds that most people will probably switch off after 30 seconds, according to what I'm being told by social media experts. On there's an FAQ section. Now, we started off there with about 4. I think we're up to about 14 now. So, you know, as we've been on these shows and we've been asked questions regularly, we've just put the answer on and put it up. And there's, as I say, on each of those questions, there's a link to, you know, register and ask a further question if you want.
Yep.
That comes to us, and we generally respond, you know, within a couple of days, depending on our work commitments. But one thing we don't do is ignore people. You know, we won't not reply to you. And the usual social media channels, you know, the Facebook page is UKFL. You've got me at a disadvantage here because David's our wizard with those, so I don't know where all the Instagram and Twitter logos are, but I'm sure you'll find them. You know,
don't worry, I'll be able to find them.
There are links on the website anyway. So.
That's right. I'll be able to find them and link them as well when I put the post out. So that's not a problem at all. I'll be able to get that done for you. Right. Thank you very much for doing this again, and hopefully I'll speak to you again soon in the build up to.
Aye, please do. Yeah. As I say, there's not going to be much happening certainly for the next 12 months on the football side.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to touch base when we get a bit further down the project.
Definitely sounds like a good plan to me.
All right.
Thank you once again to Mick Tyler from the UKFL for joining us for that interview, and obviously giving us a really good insight into what the preparation has been like for him and the team, kind of leading up to 2023 and their first. It will be their first, the league game in 2023. Hopefully everything goes well between now and then. Who knows? They might be able to get some, hopefully, get some football action this year, if not early 2022. Thanks again to Mick, and thank you everyone again for listening, and we hope to see you and have you back again next week. Thanks very much, and take care, stay safe.